Welcome to the Gear Room, and this week on the Gear Room, we're going to talk about Geoege L cables. Let me turn this, there, maybe that's better. We're going to talk about Geoege L cables, and I'm going to give you, or tell you the story of those Geoege L cables you're looking at right there, which are custom patch cords. But to get into the story, I'll set it up. So, I rewired my board, and there's some of the pedals I rewired aren't on there right now, but I'll explain that in a minute. So I rewired my board after years of trying to decide, what the perfect pedals would be. And of course I'm a Gemini, so what the perfect pedals are today won't be what they are in a week from now, unfortunately. But after watching, guys like Eric Johnson and David Gilmour and, I don't know, Jeff Beck, you see these guitar players and they use basically the same pedals over the years. That's not entirely true. I guess they're always discovering new ones, but they're not, they're not constantly changing out pedals. So I got this BK Butler tube driver, the 5-knob bias version, directly from BK Butler, and he sold it to me for 50% off, brand new, just being nice. And right after that, after a 2.5-year wait, my Analog Man King of Tone came in, and at the same time, literally, I got this Klon KTR, which is, every bit, is no different from the original Centaur from Bill Finnegan. And so, the three most iconic pedals, I guess, that exist kind of came into my hands at the same time. So I said, all right, that's it. I'm going to have to wire my pedal board, and of course those are going to have to be the pedals I use. So David Gilmour plays his BK Butler tube driver with a Cali 76 compressor, the compact version. And so I got that one from Rogue Guitar Shop. I got a really good deal on it, and I highly recommend Rogue Guitar Shop. I'm not affiliated with them in any way other than that I'm friends with them over the years from doing business with them, and they're amazing. If I need a pedal, I always go to Rogue Guitar Shop first. Or, I got the Sir Badger from Rogue Guitar Shop. I got the Wagner cabinet from Rogue Guitar Shop. They're amazing. So anyhow, I got the Cali 76 compressor, and then I decided, okay, it's time to build my pedal board once and for all and wire it. And I also got some Geoege L cables from Rogue Guitar Shop for a really great deal. So here's the order. There's the Line 6 G50 wireless, and that goes into the TC Electronics Polytune 2 from one output, and the other output goes into the Jerry Cantrell Wah-Wah, which I just got on a trade. I have no special attachment to that. From there, we go into the Cali 76. The Cali 76 goes into the Analog Man King of Tone, which isn't on the board right now. The KOT goes into the tube driver. Then the BK Butler tube driver goes into the Klon KTR, and that goes into one of these two heads, either the Sir Badger or the Mesa Boogie Mark 525, and I vacillate. Some days I think the Sir sounds the best, other days I think the Mark 525 sounds the best. But I'm playing at bedroom levels, and you have no idea what sounds the best. Unless you're a bedroom player and that's your goal in life. And if so, I respect that, but I feel sorry for you, because music is all about, rock and roll is all about playing loud and on stage and putting on a show in front of an audience. So I play in the bedroom now too, because I'm not in a band, but geez, you forget until you get on stage just what a waste. Well, that's not what. There's nothing like playing live on stage and playing really loudly. So I do vacillate back and forth between these two heads, but at bedroom levels, it's impossible to tell what they even really sound like. I've got the volume, especially on the Mark 525, as low as it can possibly go, So until you get up on the stage and get in a mix with a bass player and a drummer and a vocalist, you can't say what your amps really sound like. Okay, so I go into one of those two, and then I go, and this is also not on the pedal board right now, I go into a chorus, and I'm going to be getting a Boss Wazacraft CE2 chorus, and the chorus goes into the Analog Man King ARDX20, and that is attached to this little black box, the Amazio, or I guess this is the new version, so it's called the Amaze, and that just sets the modulation and tap tempo and stuff for the dual delay. And then the delay goes into the Flint Strymon, which is reverb and tremolo, and then that goes into the effects loop of one of those two heads, because they both have effects loops. And I don't run my modulation or delays or reverbs into the front of my amps anymore like I used to. I run them into the effects loop, and I just think that works much, much better. Although I used to be, you know, one of those guys that was like, everything goes into the front of the amp and everything needs to be, you know, old school. Not anymore. The only reason that Flint Strymon is there is because my Sir Badger doesn't have reverb, and I like reverb. So when I just was playing out of the Mark 525, I didn't have it, and I had one less pedal. The fewer the pedals, the better. But with the Sir, I need it because I need reverb. I like reverb. And the added bonus with that is that it has tremolo, and I like tremolo, and I can play with that. And the Wazacraft CE2 is, you know, much more true to the original, I guess, CE1 and CE2. It has a CE1 mode, and I like that. I don't like metallic sounding chorus. I like rich, smooth chorus. All right, which brings us to the story of the Geoege Ls. So I wired it up. It was all wired. It was all done with the Geoege L cables I got from RGS, and I plugged it in and played it, and it didn't sound good, and it sounded really quiet. Furthermore, my Klon KTR sounded really quiet, and when I would turn the overdrive knob up, it sounded like a bass knob. It didn't add overdrive at all, it added bass. So I couldn't figure it out. You know, I had finally got these really good cables and wired it, and it sounded bad, you know, way worse than it did with my cheap, crappy cables. So I was like, oh, bummer. And I randomly called Geoege L, completely on a whim, completely randomly. And I talked to Sandy, the manager, and, you know, we chatted and talked. And, you know, she asked me a lot of questions, and I gave her a lot of answers, and she said, you know, too bad you don't live here. You could just bring it in, and we could, like, check it out for you. And I was like, wow, that's nice. And she said, tell you what, we're going to make you free custom patch cables. So go home, measure all the cables, and then send us the measurements, and we will make you custom patch cables. And I was like, what? And so we talked back and forth for a few days, and she said, oh yeah, and we're going to give you a free t-shirt too. And boy, I need t-shirts, let me tell you. I live on free t-shirts, and after, you know, so many years, they start falling apart. So I keep waiting to get more free t-shirts. So anyway, I did it, I measured it, I sent it all in, and then they said, well, no, now they actually wanted photos because they wanted to know which way my cables were angled. And I was like, oh, I didn't even think about them being angled. I was just kind of bending them around. So I rewired it and bent and angled the cables, you know, the way they needed to be, photographed all the cables, and then measured them all, sent all that information off in an email. And literally a couple days later, they sent me these custom-made patch cables, each one of them, and 2 free t-shirts, and other, you know, case candy, like a Geoege L sticker and just cool stuff. So the cool thing is, and Susie is the one that made these for me. Sandy's the manager. Susie made them. But each of them is at, well, maybe not that one, but each of them other ones, she actually put the cable length on them too, right? Because I had to give her the cable length. So they all have the cable length on them, except this one right here, which I'll figure out which one it is. No worries. And yeah, so I got them all back, which is amazing. So now my task is to, here's a sweeping panoramic view of my feet and how messy my room is right now. Sorry about that. Oh, and there's my finger or my thumb in front of the lens. It's getting better. So now my task is to put all the pedals back on and wire them up and then see how it sounds. And if it still doesn't sound great, then I will know that what's really going on, and I sort of suspected this a little bit anyway, is that the my pedal power 2 plus, something's going on with the way that I'm wiring up all the pedals. You know, the Strymon Flint has to be, it can only use like channel 5 and 6, and then the Cali 76 works best or better with 18 volts. So I have a doubler going into that. The tube driver, fortunately, just plugs into an outlet. It's got its own power source. But I gotta figure out, and the King of Tone, I mean the Klon KTR can only use 9 volts. It can't use more than that. So now I have to just kind of figure out exactly what's going on. And then once I get it all wired and get it all figured out, I will finally have my pedal board exactly the way I want it. And of course, that we'll see how long that lasts. And all these other pedals you see laying around, and a bunch of them up there too, are all for sale now. I need to buy the Boss Wazacraft CE2. So in order to do that, I'm going to have to sell pedals. And yeah, I don't, it's hard for me to let go of pedals because I always know that as soon as I sell a pedal, I'm going to be like, oh, that's the one I want. And my ear changes constantly. So today's perfect best sound ever, tomorrow won't be. And I know that the pedal I sold today will be exactly the pedal I'm like, oh, I've got to have that pedal. And it's, if you're a guitarist or even a human being, you know that it's all in your head. Like, I could go play and just crank my amp up, and I'm sure nobody in the audience would know or care. You know, they would say it sounded just as good, my guitar into my amp cranked up, than with 3 different or 4 different pedals. And, you know, it's in your head. It's a mind game. All right, so thanks so much for tuning in to the very messy gear room, because as you might know, although I'm a famous rock star in real life, secretly I'm a 6th grade science teacher, hence the briefcase and the milk crate full of the water cycle unit, or the weather and climate unit. Sorry, I don't want to downgrade that unit. All right, so have a great day. Thanks for tuning in to the gear room. And that's Pink Floyd. Thank you, Dimitri. My 5-year-old gave me that. And Keith Richards, my 5-year-old gave me that. And this is the Lego robot that my 5-year-old built. Whoops, I should hire someone else to do my filming. All right, and on that happy note, we're out.